Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a subject to you that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and that is sovereignty. Maybe you've heard the word in school or you know what it means somehow. What is sovereignty? It means autonomous ownership, basically, of something, usually land or space, an area, property of some kind. With special emphasis, like many of my videos have special emphasis on something specific, an example. I'm going to use an example to open the video. If you trespass, and it's clearly trespassing, hypothetically, let's say you break into someone's house. Well, it's common knowledge here in America, in the United States, that you're putting yourself in danger in a lot of ways, not just in terms of breaking the law by unlawfully trespassing, but in a very immediate and direct way by the owner of the property who may be in the house. And if you hear me out, so if you go into a house, if you are clearly not welcome and you have no invitation and it's not your property, somebody's there occupying it, and let's say they have a way to defend themselves, they perhaps have a family with children, you could be in mortal danger, in fact, and it would be justified by them to defend themselves under those circumstances, and it happens. It happens semi-frequently. We hear about it sometimes, and it's pretty common knowledge that under those circumstances, if that's all there is to it, they're within rights to do what they have to do, up to and including using deadly force if necessary. So it's not surprising if you extrapolate this example. It's kind of a bummer of an example, but think about, say, U.S. officials going to another country and infiltrating some home or business or facility or government building. And just if you think about that for a second, it's kind of the same idea. You're in somebody else's jurisdiction. First of all, you're clearly trespassing if you go into a building that doesn't belong to you. You don't have permission. Same stuff applies. So you can expect the same conditions to apply to that situation, I would think. All right, I'm going to give you a very brief third example based on the same idea. Here in America, it's also common knowledge that Native Americans have what are called reservations, land set aside by our federal government, given to them with the promise of autonomous ownership for the purpose, almost the exclusive purpose of being sovereign land that they had previously, the whole land, and we're giving them some token land to appease the people, more or less. To if we're being honest, it's mostly about image. It's about correcting something that was obviously criminal when we, you know, evicted them from their land that they had already settled. But this isn't really about that part. This is about sovereignty and what it means and what the implications are for people who trespass on sovereign land. What is that? What happens there? What does that mean exactly? So just because land is given or formally acknowledged as belonging to someone on record by law, so to speak, in a public way, doesn't mean that it still belongs to the giver any more than a gift that is received or a business transaction that is completed is very easily reversible. It's not at that point. This is the point of it. The point is that it's final, it's done, and to give something is to relinquish ownership of it yourself. If I give you an item, any item, and we agree that it no longer belongs to me and it's understood that now it belongs to you, that's not my item anymore. I have no claim to it, no stake in it, no authority over it, more importantly. This is just a fact. This isn't this part's not up for debate. This is just logic and definitions here. So back to the subject. Sovereign land doesn't appear to be sovereign land. If you've been to a Native American reservation, there are state and county police there posted in permanent facilities of their own. And I don't want to dwell on that point either, but there has been a lot of historical activity surrounding this stuff where natives are confused, if nothing else, about what they're entitled to do on this so-called sovereign land, because they're told on one hand that it's sovereign, they can live there as they have for hundreds or thousands of years, and yet people come onto their land telling them what to do, building things there that don't belong there, frankly. Maybe you've heard of Leonard Peltier, and I'm not trying to do a deep dive into that story, but if you're familiar, there was a conflict on a Native American reservation where U.S. agents were killed in a long battle, a long firefight between the agents and the people on the land for reasons that aren't entirely relevant, if you ask me, because by the time anybody, including U.S. agents, go onto native land, they're trespassing. That's the whole point. It is literally the whole point of it being sovereign. It wasn't given if they're allowed to just go there and do what they like willy-nilly and call things that happen there U.S. crimes. That's not part of the deal. It's literally against the definition. Anyway, so in the case of Leonard Peltier, this man has been locked up for decades, as far as I know. I'm no expert on the subject. I just know that the on the surface, superficially, if agents were killed on native land, actual reservation land, that cannot be a murder on U.S. soil, but they're calling it that. It's not even possible. Or the only other logical possibility is that the land never belonged to the natives to begin with. Either the U.S. agents shouldn't have been there, or if they were killed there, it's a question for the people there, not us, not other places in the U.S. They shouldn't have been there. And this is the controversy. There's a big controversy. This man has been in prison for a long, long time. This isn't about Leonard Peltier. It's about the idea that given something releases you of responsibility for it. It's not all bad. I mean, given something it's a double-edged sword, right? So you're losing something, perhaps of value, but you're also losing responsibility to manage it, and that's okay. Sometimes that's a good thing, because you don't want to be responsible for all the stuff that happens to the thing that you gave someone. There's a very good reason why it now belongs to someone else, and it has to be clear who owns that thing. So anyway, questions or comments, as usual, reach out to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. I wish everybody a safe and bullet-free day. Those are becoming more rare, and it's making me sad. So take care.